a reinforced concrete bar in it, and this bar is mounted on ball bearings. So if you cut the outer bar, the inner bar doesn't stand still because it moves with the ball bearings. So we were experimenting with a screw jack to see if we can jack open the bars. But that didn't work because the screw jack was too weak. We had to get a hydraulic, and we had no ways in which we can make a hydraulic jack. So we decided to make the key. I did measurement and the specifications for the key, and Jacob Zuma did the actual work on the key. He worked in a quarry, and his job was to sharpen the chisels and see to the hammers and the wheelbarrows. So he had grinding stones and a grinding wheel, and we took a solid piece of metal, and I took a measurement of the lock. It was a British lock, so I measured it in inches there for 1/8 of an inch and 1/16 of an inch. So I measured the size of the hole, the bar, and also that, and I gave him the specification, and he ground it out of that. And then when it was ready, he came in. But bringing things in from the quarry was not easy. Because when you come out of the quarry, just before you enter the yard, you must get totally undressed and pass your clothes on summer and winter. And the warders check every single seam of the clothing and throws it behind you. And then you've got to now pass naked and go. And even if it rains, you can pick up your clothing and dress again. But Tony Susan was an expert smuggler. I don't know how he got it, but he brought that key in past the search lines. But when he first brought it in, it was a blank. This serrations was not there. So I asked him, he must find a candle for me. So he also found a candle. Some of the common law prisoners, the criminals work in town, and they had access to these things, that we could ask them to bring those things for us. So this was quite solid without serrations. And then I took a candle and lit it, and I kept this in the candle flame, and it was soot black. And then I went to the keyhole, and I inserted that in the keyhole, and I moved it to and fro, and I carefully pulled it out. And these marks were then on the soot there. But for our security and for our own protection of our comrades within the cell, we had to wait until they sleep late in the night, and then when everybody's more or less asleep, then we go to the gate and we do these tests. So we put it in, we pulled it out, and I measured it on the soot, and I provided the specification for Jacob Zuma, and he ground out that very accurately according to my specifications. And then Tony smuggled the key back in, and now we had to test it to see if it really works. So when everybody was asleep, we inserted the key in, and it was tight, and we turned it hard, and it opened up, and it opened the gate. And then we had to pull the key out, and it couldn't come out. So we struggled with it, and I had some hair oil, and I put some hair oil in it. And after, it must have been about an hour of struggling, and then it finally came out, but the gate was unlocked. So now we had the key there, and the gate was unlocked. So we had a debate quickly. Must we try and put in and close it? If the key gets stuck, we lose the key. But if you lose the gate, there's still a chance that we can still retain the key. So we decided to leave it open. So the following morning, the warders came along, and as the warder touched the gate, it opened. And then he went to call the security and the head of the prison, and they all came along there, and they looked at there, and they looked at that. And then they left. Then they left, and they all went away. And we were totally amazed. It was, no, this must be a trick. That they're trying to trick us as we come out. No, there was nobody there. We went to have our breakfast. Later on we discovered the night warder was charged for negligence for not closing the cell properly. But at that time, one of the big problems prisoners have, what political prisoners have, is keeping up to date with the news in the world. So we tried to smuggle newspapers. We got some of the better criminals to steal newspapers for us. And on Sundays, when the priest, we all went to church, whether we were Hindu or Muslim or that, we all attended the church very diligently. Because some of those priests knew, and the priests sometimes come along with the Sunday Times, and when they say, now close our eyes and let's pray, that's the time when you can steal these newspapers. So we stole newspapers from these priests, and then we had, but one of the criminals stole a radio in town, one of the warders' radio, and brought it in. And then the radio wasn't working, so they said, well, Sedick is a scientist, he's give the task to him, he must repair the radio. So during the early evenings I went to the bathroom and checked what was wrong. It was only the power supply, it was very easy to repair. So I repaired it and I joined the wires again, and it worked. And now we're at the source of news, the radio also. We were very careful with it. But later that night, the warders discovered his radio missing. And I don't know, some of the criminals must inform them that the radio actually came to us. And that caused huge consternation. It was such a, you know, the biggest crime we can commit is to have a newspaper in. One of our guys was found with a newspaper and they put him in a straitjacket to emphasize the seriousness of the whole thing. So he was in the straitjacket for a couple of days because he had the newspaper in. So now this radio came in and I was busy operating it. It was in my desk and the key also came in for final testing. It was deeper down in my locker. So I was about to take the radio and the warders came in. They came in with guns pointing at us and stand still, hands against the wall. So everybody to stand against the wall. It was now a search. And then they started searching the first desk, the second desk. They came to my desk, opened it up, and then they found this radio. They put it up and put it on top and switched it on. It was 7 o'clock. And that time news came along at 7 o'clock. It was a guy by the name of Uraus. Yeah. And it says, here is the news read by Uraus. They warders charge that radio so that we can't hear this news and switch it off quickly. And then they wanted to know from me, where do I get the radio? I said, I don't know, I just found it. And then they searched me further and they found the key also with me. And that caused even bigger problems. And then I was arrested now, down to the solid confinement cells. But the head of the prison was so upset with it and so angry with it. When we came to the solid confinement cells, he started fighting with me. And I blocked it and I wanted to, and they held me down like that. And then I got boxed until I became semi-conscious and my mouth bled and the nose bled and my jaw, which was already skew from the police, was made further skew and I couldn't. And they just dropped me down in a semi-daze on the concrete floor without blankets. And then they discovered anybody found with an implement which could facilitate an escape, the regulation says must be put in chains. So now they went to go look for those chains. So they found those chains. And now when you wear that particular chain, there's a chain on your leg and on your arms, and there's a huge metal steel belt across your waist. And all that chains is now connected to one another. So you can't move so very well in any case. It was also short. And since they couldn't put it, they decided not to put it on because you put chains on when you are naked and then you've got to dress. I later discovered there's special clothing for people in chains. There are buttons on the side and buttons on the side so that it doesn't disturb the change when you get dressed or undressed or go to the toilet. And then they pull my clothes off when I was still in a semi-dazed fashion. And I found these chains being fitted on and clicked on and riveted here and hammered on there. And then they left me without any clothes on in this cell, and it was very early September. It was the same time when Imam Harun's funeral, or when Imam Harun died. Then I was in the solitary confinement cell, and at that time there was also an earthquake in Cape Town. Yeah, so the earthquake woke me. But in chains, in a small cell where the bars actually rattle, it was actually a type of horrifying experience. I can actually not describe it. I couldn't move or move freely. And then I started freezing up. I couldn't jump up and do on the spot running as I normally would have because of the chains. And I started freezing, and I discovered the body's mechanism to try and bring heat. My body goes into a type of activity which moves you. It's a type of flex and reflex, flexion of and then you come back and flex it back. And it went on like that until the muscles started aching, but it does generate heat. I had that episode here 3 years ago, and my daughter was still staying with me, one who studied medicine, was so appalled to see me going through that she called the ambulance, and they took me to Vincent Pallotti. But when I got there, the whole spasm wore out. But it was the only time when I went into spasm. But I know if I do freeze further, I will probably go into that type of spasm. As a type of remnant of the experiences there. And then later on, I said I wanted to charge them for assault. I want to see the doctor. And the doctor duly came along and looked at my skewed jaw and my swollen eye and my nose, which was out of shape. And he wrote a report, could find no evidence of assault. But it actually so much floored me that that it just de-innovated me. And I know I should have taken the matter up with more energy. Later on, they brought a magistrate along, and the magistrate invited me to stay for another year. So it was again added to my sentence. But one of the things which I discovered with these rural people is, after my first solitary confinement, those 10 months of solitary confinement, they came to me with great sympathy. In rural Africa, if you had a very bad experience, you must try and get that experience behind you. And one of the ways in which you get behind is to change your name. And they changed my name on the first occasion. And from that day onwards, I became known as Sosanti, not Sedick anymore. And everybody, especially the rural African, now changed my name to Sosanti. And after this experience with the ski business, they changed my name again. And at that time I became Loazi. Loazi is of course a word which means a lover of knowledge. And those who are from the Transvaal, who speak a different language, translated the love of knowledge into Sotho. And then I became Kitso to them.